you can't go anywhere in life without first considering it in your imagination. And we're not talking about the childish imagination, the fantasic imagination of a child, where they fantasize and they create imaginary stuff that isn't real. When you become an adult, you start to realize that none of that stuff's real. Like you can't fly like you thought you could when you were a kid. But the important thing is the imagination. Your imagination is the womb that you begin to consider in, to begin to think on things that you want to go toward, that currently you want to experience and in the future you want to experience.
Yeah, like this beautiful place that we're at. Like, how gorgeous is this? We wanted to have you join us, but there wasn't quite enough space. But anyhow, everybody wants to go where they want, do what they want, and experience what they want, all while doing what they love.
And have that kind of freedom.
Yeah, and it's really just living that abundant life now, like living in that paradise place that you just want to experience and enjoy.
And so we all go to different things in life. We go to shows, we go to concerts, we go to sporting events, we hang out with friends and do different things. We go on bike rides, we travel around the world. We try to experience different things. But as Julia was saying, that is the freedom that we all have to go do, to be able to do what we want, go where we want, experience where we want, and do what we love, and be able to work in the environment that affords us the financial freedom to be able to do that.
But also the inner peace, because sometimes you can have all the freedom and the money in the world, but you're still not settled in that place of peace where you are actually experiencing and invigorated internally. So it's not necessarily all the things in the outside world, it's actually what's also going on in the inside too.
But what's important about what we're doing today is most never find it.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the inner peace. That's too. We're talking about the experience of what you could. And the imagination is the womb of everything you experience, good or bad. Now, I'm not saying bad things happen because of what's going on in your head, but we are the cause of certain things. So that's just the beginning of where it's at. For example, the imagination is where you remember where you parked your car at when you went to Walmart.
Or sometimes you may not remember where you parked and you need to use your little fob to find your car spot.
Or sometimes, it misfires. Just like I'm looking for my phone and I'm talking on my phone. I'm talking to this dude or my wife, and I just can't find my phone. I'm like in a hurry and all that. So anyway, sometimes it misfires. But anyway, it's how you remember everything. It's how you imagine everything. It's how you remember where your keys are. It's how you remember how many doors are in your house. You probably never went around and counted them, but you can imagine every room by going into that room
in your mind
and imagining each door, the door in the master bedroom, the door into the master bath that then leads in the door into the master closet. So you can start counting. Your imagination is how you consider. It's how you imagine. It's how you see without physically seeing. And so everything you do in life is considering certain things and conceiving. That's the womb of your imagination. You're conceiving everything you want to experience.
Yeah, so I'm going way back to high school when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. Any of you have that dilemma? Like, what am I going to do in life? And at that time, I was actually working in a pharmacy, and I could see myself as a pharmacist. Like, I could naturally see myself, yes, counting pills behind the counter, but there's far more that is done by that. But anyhow, I could see myself getting to that place. And then I created the map of how to get there. I had to finish high school. I had to finish undergrad. I had to get accepted or apply and get accepted into school. And I saw that all in my mind before I actually graduated and walked the stage with a doctorate degree.
Yeah, so essentially, ultimately, your passion drove it.
Yeah.
You had inspiration and passion to begin considering in your mind, to begin doing the necessary things to go toward it. And all of you can resonate how that's worked in every choice you've made. Mm-hmm. You're deciding on something, considering, and you're beginning to lay the groundwork on how you're going to get to the thing that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Pretty simple math. Some of you are probably saying, duh, come on. But did you spend time to think about that it was your imagination that's creating? And so we're going to unpack that in relationship to why most people never get to their full potential and never get to the abundant life that they truly like to experience. Most people retire from what they don't love because they flatline into retirement because they're retiring from what they don't enjoy. They never really find it. And when you talk to older people, when you do statistics, you'll find that most of them just did it because it's what worked. It's how they got their needs met. It's how they provided for their families, and they find some fulfillment in it. So we're going to unpack more of that. But now, if you know anybody that wants to live an abundant life, please hit the like button, the follow button, the subscribe button, and follow us.
And share.
And follow us at Abundant Life Now Ministries.
Yes, we would love to have you and your friends and family join us.
So we are going to illustrate this. We're going to illustrate in a visual, so you don't have to imagine.
We're going to help you out here.
Visualizations are much easier, much like video is much easier to imagine what's going on. That's why Hollywood movies are so great. Mm-hmm. They're so wonderful. So we'd like you to see a little bit of the ocean behind us. That's kind of cool, but I'm a little too tall for the...
Yeah, we're cutting your head off.
Yeah, so we kind of have to draft, and I got to squat down like a shorty.
Hey now.
Sporty shorty.
That used to be my nickname.
So, not that I gave it to her, but anyway, there's 3 parts of your overall being. Your human form, the way you were designed. One is, and I'm going to have you hold this. One is, well, we're going to back up.
Reverse.
This, just hold on. This represents your physical body. This represents your soulish realm.
Some sunscreen we used earlier.
Don't mind the Kula. This represents your soulish realm, which is your mind, heart, emotions, feelings, thoughts, including your imagination.
We
hold that?
Yes. I'll be Vanna.
And in this hand over here, this represents your spirit, man or woman. Now, inside that spirit, man or woman, I had Julie turn it that way on purpose, or I made her do it by turning her hand, because it says live simply abundant. Now, just happen chance, we have these things here, so we're using them as props. But inside your spirit man is where living simply abundant is found, and we're going to illustrate why. But here's the gateway. This is the gateway to everything of your life. This is essentially the womb. Your soulish realm is the womb. And you're doing all your measuring and comparing, all your considering right here in your brain, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your feelings.
And you may not even be thinking that you're doing that. You just naturally do it. It's just the way that you're created. Sometimes you do it more intentionally than others.
You're inspired there. Your passion's found there. And how you utilize this determines what you do on an everyday basis. As kids, we grow up and we are beginning to learn to use our brains and attaching ourselves to our physical body. Most of us think in terms of ourselves when we look in the mirror. We think of ourselves in terms of the body. We like to believe we're a spiritual being and soulish and all that stuff. But really, we look in the mirror and we pretty much say, this is who I am. I'm the physical being. I got wrinkles and gray hairs and short hair and not as agile as when I was younger, or all these things we come up with. I'm just as agile. So anyway, that's just the thought process that comes through us. So we attach our mind to our bodies, and we become a product of our circumstances. And it works for us. For all intents and purposes, it works for us. However, this is what let me back out of this. The body is driven by the five senses: seeing, tasting, touching, hearing, feeling, smelling. And so we get sensory input in from our five senses. And that gives us information in our soulish realm that we process through and we begin to identify with. And most of the time, we walk by sight because we're attached here with our brain. And the reason is you can't see, taste, touch, hear, feel, or smell. You're a spirit man. So most or a lot of people don't know they have a spirit man alive and well and functioning fully, wholly, and totally inside you. It's the one that's speaking right now. We just have been conditioned over so much time that I'm the physical body. Look at my muscles. Look how good looking I am. Look at my clothes. Look at all I am.
Hair.
Look at my skill set. Look at what I accomplished. Look at all these things. We're doing show and tell all the time. And we don't mean that, but that's essentially what we're doing. We're presenting ourselves. And you should present yourself. If your barn needs painting, put a couple coats on it.
Your barn.
Yeah, the barn right here. If the barn needs paint, put a couple coats of paint on it.
I like the idea of the car. If the car needs painting, we use our body as a vehicle a lot, so I like the car
hot rod
instead of a barn.
That's right. I call it the hot rod. So what kind of hot rod are you driving? Is it a Ferrari or is it a Lamborghini or is it a four-wheel drive truck? Not literally, physically a truck, but this truck right here. So if your truck or your car needs painting, put a couple coats on it. That's a hairdo, good set of clothes.
Nice fingernail polish.
Maybe some blush, whatever. If I'm doing that right.
Yes.
So that's just a little sidetrack. So I'm saying that because we do all that stuff to showcase who we are, to present ourselves, to be presentable in our work environments, in our social environments, in our entertainment environments, in our when we get involved in government, when we get involved in our churches, when we go visit other families. We always want to, or there is some inherent part of all of us that wants to present ourselves. When we go to weddings, nobody wears the worst clothes at the weddings. They wear their best. When you go to a business meeting, nobody wears the worst clothes at a business meeting.
You want to look nice. You want to look like first impressions,
And outside of work, we all wear what we're comfortable with. And that's how we present ourselves. And so a lot of time, most of the time, we're presenting our best case at that time according to what we want to live, according to what we want to experience. And that comes through the imagination, which most of the time is attached to our physical body, trying to put a painted coat on the hot rod, trying to lift up the hot rod with hot rod wheels, to put a stereo in it, to do all these things to the hot rod.
Spruce it up.
Yeah, to the hot rod. For not only our enjoyment, our presentation of ourselves, and most people don't think of it this way, but that's what we're unconsciously always doing. Most people will comb their hair when they're going to an event or going to the store, or some people just don't care as they get older. But
right.
But the point is that we get attached to this.
Yeah.
We get attached to this, and this becomes who we are, and we don't recognize that we're the spirit man and the spirit woman. And so our imagination dictates, not because it's doing it for us, it's because we each get free will, perfect, genuine choice. That was a gift given to us to choose between being in our physicality and our spirit man side or spirit woman side. This is considered carnal minded, which is just being driven by the five senses, jockeyed around, and a product of every circumstance that comes your way. Now, you may not be pushed around and all that, but it's that we're responding according to that. So we begin to believe by sight, and we begin to create a life according to those circumstances of what's working for us or what's not working for us, what's happened to us or what didn't happen to us, what we didn't get or what we could have got, what we think we should have gotten, and what we got left out from.
Yeah, and this whole time that we're over here, we're leaving our spirit man or woman off on the sidelines because our spirit will never go
We'll never yield.
into the whatever the physical is doing because our spirit is perfect. It's one with Jesus. 100% perfect.
Yeah, when you accept, when a person accepts the gift, the free gift of salvation and freedom and victory and the aliveness and everything that comes from that and abundant life now, your spirit's perfected.
Yeah.
So until then, we're as kids, we're centered here. Just like kitty cats and puppy dogs. We see things and we get excited about it. And we go toward that milk bone or toward that benefit. And as kids, some of the challenging things is being guided and ushered into learning things like 2 + 2 is 4 so that we can learn how to function in society with things that work for us, for our abundance. But oftentimes we grow up as adults and we stay adults and stay right here and never know that part of ourselves.
Unless we're taught or we learn through a variety of different avenues. One way is through messages like this, or going to church, or hearing an older person that's maybe walked the path before us.
Really just getting in the Word. When you talk about church, getting in the Word to understand who you are in the mirror of your identity. The Scripture is the mirror. The Word is the mirror of who you are. And it's greatness. Most people look at it as downtrodden and, pushover and that's the Christian nature. No, it's not. It's the greatness of who you are.
Right here in your spirit.
All that we think we're great in here is infinitely greater over there.
Yeah.
But we limit ourselves to this. And this part of our life is just the beginning. It's how we're born, how we're designed in this world to first be alive, but be able to survive long enough so we can tap into that. When Einstein created the light bulb, he tapped into that. He considered in his mind, based on things, math and calculus and physics and all those things, and chemistry and wiring and electricity and all that stuff, he began to work with that stuff by the inspiration of what was already created in the spirit for us to experience. Yeah. Somebody could have created a light bulb 1,000 years before him, but they didn't. They weren't thinking on that.
He had the vision, and he kept going towards that vision and stepping into it until it became a reality. And now, not only did he get the blessing of it, but we now get to experience that.
Many hundreds were working on the light bulb at the time, and he stuck with his vision and followed through with it. And it's like Columbus landing in North America. He figured out the light bulb first and got it patented and got it created and got it produced. So that's how that came about. Same thing with the internet. Same thing with electric cars. Same thing with a cell phone. Same thing with this Kula lotion.
Good old sunscreen.
I should have put that on top of my feet this morning because they're burnt now. But anyway, the important thing to understand about this in relationship to the beginning of what may have drew you into this message is that most people never find it. Yeah. They never find the life that they really want to experience, and they end up settling that this is just the way life is, according to what they're experiencing.
But we want to show you how to flip that so that you can be more empowered and step into more of the spirit side.
So my point with that is that this is 1% of 1% of your potential. When we set our minds on our physical body and try to build this thing up, again, you should take care of your body. You should present yourself well. You should grow in life, health, and peace in your physical body. But your body is just taking the brunt of everything we're doing in our mind. Everything we're doing in our mind, we're putting our body through. Whether we're smooth sailing and comfortably riding along and flow in life, or whether we're four-wheel driving through life. So the important thing is that this is 1% of 1% of your potential when it comes to your potential, when it comes to living an experience of life that you would truly like to experience. The other 99% is found in there.
In your spirit.
So we just wanted to spend this time with you to help you understand that your imagination that's found in your soulish realm. A lot of times that gets confused, the soul and the spirit. The soulish realm, again, is your mind, heart, emotions, thoughts, feelings. It's your imagination, how you process things. And you will either, in the beginning of your time as a baby, you automatically your brain's functioning here because it's in safety, security, survival, territorial, domineering, fight or flight, eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, returning evil for evil, all which is self-preservation. It's identical to every kitty, cat, and puppy dog.
Yep.
In its core. The difference between us and them is we stand upright and we have opposing thumb to hold on to things and manipulate things and create things, and conscious awareness to discern, decipher, and filter to know the difference of right and wrong, truth and lies, good and evil, blessing and cursing, abundance and scarcity. But we begin here. And we begin there so that we have a fleeting chance to survive long enough to come out of that perspective that we're predominantly coming from.
It's very limited.
It's very limited. It's the lowest form of functionality. And it only produces 1% of 1% of your potential. It's actually worse than that. But to make it simple, it's only 1% of your potential, and the other 99% is there. This is an opportunity. This is the first opportunity. The opportunity is just to be able to be alive and be here and exist and be able to be a part of life and be able to experience all the diversity and all the greatness, the beauty and the grandeur and the wonderfulness and the loveliness and the awesomeness of all of life. Most of the time, because we're attached here, we're 9 times out of 10 negative, more negative than positive, and that's only because when the one negative thing comes along, it screws up the rest of the other 9. So it ends up being 9 times out of 10 you're negative, because it's hard to be positive when you're attached to your 5 senses and being driven by your 5 senses, what you see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell. Now, keep in mind, you're always going to be attached here. It's a balance and harmony between the spirit man that you can't see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell. Or woman, yeah. And the physicality of yourself that is driven by 5 senses. Whether you like it or not, you're driven by them. You can shut your eyes, but you can still see light. You can still see shadows.
You can put your hands over your ears, you can still really hear, even if you try to not.
The only sense you can cut off is your well, you could pluck your eyes out and then you really can't see. But nobody would do that. That'd be dumb. But you can fast, but you can only fast so long before you're going to be jonesing for a donut or a cup of coffee or lasagna or a chicken breast, whatever. Or salad. Piece of licorice. So you're going to be hungry at some point. So you can't cut those off. Those were given to you and retrofitted into your being so that you can interface and interact with the world and begin to learn what it means to be alive and learn how to utilize it for your abundance and blessing so that you can come alive and thrive with a life more abundantly than life itself. This is the life itself over here. Scripturally, this is the life itself.
And this is the life more abundantly over here.
And when we move over to here, you start experiencing a life more abundantly. Get that out of your face. She's modeling right now. That's not a good modeling pose, so I better be down here. So a life more abundantly than life itself. When we start choosing that to be driven by that,
by our spirit,
which is complete, perfect. It's perfected now into eternity. Your spirit will never change because it's the part of you that interacts with God, that's connected to God. But God still gives you genuine choice in your imagination, in your heart thoughts, feelings, emotions, and all that you think. So our question for you is, we always come back to, why are you thinking what you think? And we're not causing you to question what you think and be unsure, but to look at, why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Where is that coming from? Which is causing me always to respond a certain way. If I'm leaning on my physical body, which 100% of the time every kid is, it's up to us as parents to lead them in values so they begin to learn how to assimilate with life in a way that prospers them, that causes them to be able to ride the front side of the wave of success and workability in life with people and things. So when we limit ourselves over here, this is what's considered carnally minded, which leads to death. And the body takes the brunt of all that we put it through. When we come over here, we begin to be driven by the truth that sets us free. And the freedom you're getting set free, or if you've heard that the number one thing in the scripture is to labor to rest, is resting from this thing, which is resting from being driven by all that my five senses tell me. Now, you need your five senses. If I took away all your five senses, you would not know you existed. You'd have to have somebody feed you. You'd have to have somebody clothe you. You'd have to have somebody put a warming blanket around you when it gets cold. You'd have to have somebody help you go to the bathroom and clean up after you. You'd have to have somebody do your
basically all your daily
hygiene.
Yeah.
Hygienics is what I was trying to say. Your hygiene stuff. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't sign your name. You couldn't do anything because you need five senses to understand and interpret the world and interact with the world. But we're not taught in our schools, in our educational systems, in our religious organizations, our churches, our families, in our governmental structures, in our work environments, to lean on this. We end up leaning on this, which is only, again, 1% of your potential, and we end up limiting what we're capable of doing in life. The life more abundantly than life itself is right here, even though you're still using your five senses. You need your five senses to interpret the world, to interact with the world, and to be a part of the world. But you don't have to be driven by them. And so as you do this, the body will follow suit. And the body will follow where you lean on. If you lean, the body will go wherever you lean on it with your mind.
And the spirit will always stay separate.
But when you lean on your spirit, the body will come into subjection of the spirit.
Yeah.
You were saying?
I just want to recap. So essentially what we're showing here is funny little objects, but really they are all showcasing the 3-in-1 that's in you. Your spirit, your soul, and your body. So you have three parts of you, but a lot of times you just think you have this body and the emotions and the mind and all of that. You
think you're only this.
Yeah, and we're here to tell you that there's three within you: your spirit, soul, and body. And learning to know the difference of leaning completely on the body versus leaning more on the spirit is where you're going to experience more of that life that you really want.
Now, this creates richness in every aspect of your life, including the health of the body.
And longevity.
This is where life, health, and peace is.
In your spirit.
By leaning on your spirit and making a draw upon your spirit. It's also where all your potential is. And it's your potential to create and make an impact in life, which creates prosperity for your life. You can just stay here and only function from this perspective and just forget about the spirit. Everyone hopes that they're spiritual and hopes that they have a spirit and all these things. But most of the time, don't know how it works. So at the end of the day, you don't want to just hope in that, but just right along here, functioning here. Yes, that's still there, but it's your genuine choice is leading the ship. And the ship is being driven this way most of the time for all of us. This is a learning curve to learn how to optimize this. And so I'm going to set these down. So when you do a scale, I need to fix that.
We need to fix his mic here.
So when you do a scale, like a graph, from your perspective, you're looking at a graph from your left to right, like this. And so this represents the elevation or the abundance level that you're experiencing. And this represents the horizontal part of the graph, represents the timeline of your life. So right here is 0.
When you're born.
When you're
This is
born.
where you start.
And as you lean into the Spirit, your trend, your trajectory, your journey starts journeying up to the right hand corner, upper corner of the graph.
We didn't practice this.
We didn't. That's honest to God's truth. So up here is where you begin optimizing. Okay, that's good. You begin optimizing when you get to this side of the chart along throughout your life. Hopefully you'll optimize that more and more. And that's what's called perfect free will, genuine choice. But all the potential, all the greatness, all the awesomeness that you provide that has eternal value is found when you step into being spirit-minded, spirit-led, from being spirit-filled. So it's spirit-filled first, then you spirit-led, which leads you to be spirit-minded instead of carnally minded. And spirit-minded, that Romans 8:6 talks about, is life, health, and peace. To be carnally minded is death. You don't just fall over and die, but
it's really just a limitation.
It's just a limitation, and it's the death of your experience of being spirit-led, spirit-minded. And that's really important because that's where all your potential is. That's where the light bulb is found. That's where the internet's found. That's where the electric car's found. That's where the cell phone or the mic is found or the cool t-shirt, whether you think this is cool or not.
I think it's cool.
The cool lotion. Cool. So we're not trying to promote those products, so don't look those products up. So anyway, to wrap that up, it's all about your free will, genuine choice found in your soulish realm. I'm going to turn around backward. It's your soulish realm that's driving everything. It's the gateway to all that you experience. Everything that happens to you is because you, with exception to circumstantial things that other people created and caused against you, but we're not focused on that right now. Things happen, and we just got to do the best to manage them and get beyond them. But what you're experiencing inside yourself that Julie was talking about before, inside yourself is you're creating the richness in every part of your life or lack thereof. And it has to do with what you're leaning on and what you're considering, what you're thinking on, and what you're availing yourself to and what you're saying yes to in all that you think and all that you lean on, all that you go toward, all that you begin to create. You're creating your experience every single day by every one of your choices. So everything that happens to you in your control of your life is happening because you're choosing it by first considering in your imagination what you want to experience. And then you begin to do the groundwork, lay the groundwork of heading toward it for it to come into fruition, to come into manifestation. It's not magical. It's not mystical. It's not soothsaying. It's just simple mechanical stuff. You think it, and therefore
you experience it.
It'll begin to come about if you spend enough time on it. It won't just appear because you think it. It begins to come into your life because you decide, I want this glass of water, or I want this lotion, or I want to live simply abundant. So those things happen because you start going toward them and you start using your energy to create. Energy to create whatever experience is, as simple as a bottle of lotion, as simple as
a water bottle,
a flower, or a glass of water, or an experience, or a relationship, or anything that you want to experience. So as the scripture describes, nothing will be impossible for you that you
Don't imagine.
can imagine, not don't. Nothing will be impossible for you that you can imagine. If you can imagine it, you can
create it,
experience it, because you'll begin going toward it and you'll start to create it. You'll start to do the necessary things to go there, and it all begins in your imagination, which is what we call as the center part of your spirit, body, and your soul is the center part, which is where your imagination is housed. So mechanically, you're thinking through every step of the way what you want to experience and how you want to experience it.
Yeah, and so I just want to pause here. If you have specific questions that you have been kind of juggling around in your mind and not really sure how to apply what we're saying to you today, we would like to invite you backstage after this live stream at abundantlifenow.com/events. And you can ask us any questions that you have. If it's something that you've maybe been trying to go towards and it just hasn't been really working out for you, there may be some things that we can lead you down that will help you consider other things differently. And so we just want to open that opportunity up to you, and we would love to have you backstage at abundantlifenow.com/events.
Come on back.
Yeah.
And you get to experience what is it? This is the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
So,
yes. One other thing I want to say, have you ever really considered this with your imagination, like the power of it? One of the things before Scott and I really started opening up into this, I never really intentionally focused on my imagination. But if I looked back, and if you look back on some of the points in your life and really look at how did I use my imagination? Did I use it for my benefit? Did I use it to create whatever I wanted to experience? Or did I just kind of back end unconsciously use it to, like he said earlier, find my car in the parking lot or count how many windows are in my house if I need to share that with someone? I mean, knowing the difference of using your imagination is really powerful. And like I shared in the beginning, when I was in high school wanting to go to college, imagining what I could be, what I could do. And that's true for you. Imagining whatever you could do in life, whether it be a change in career, a new career, a new adventure that you want to go on. It's all a part of the imagination. But on the flip side, there's times where we can use our imagination on the negative side, and that's where Scott was kind of alluding to with the body and soul, where we lean on that stronger, we actually get entrenched more in the fear versus more of the faith side of things with our spirit. So when we lean more in the imagination with our fear, we can kind of turn ourselves upside down with a lot of emotions and experience a lot, a lot of turmoil in ways that we don't intend. But it's really, truly how you're considering those thoughts in your mind and what you're going towards that shapes the way that you feel, the way that you are experiencing what's in front of you. Maybe it's not the paradise, physical place that you're at. Maybe it's just sitting in your home and being at rest, at peace, or stirred up, full of anxiety. Maybe it's affected your mood. Maybe you're not in a happy place. But that is all something that you can do, and you can shift. I'm going to have you be Vanna this time. Shift in where you're having your mind and your thoughts and emotions. When they are going towards your body and the circumstances and the physicality of this world, you are limiting yourself. Do you see that? Do you see how being stuck in those emotions with the physical and our circumstances, what we see, is limiting us? But then when we pull away from that and we lean more on the Word of God and what our spirit, what's true about us in the spirit, our body will follow. Hey, Vanna, follow. Our body will follow, and we will experience, like Scott was saying, life more abundantly in our everyday life, despite what's going on.
And most people don't this you may have to listen to this over and stay tuned, because it all is really central to this. Because most of the time, when you just step back right now and think through what you're thinking, you're not thinking that you're imagining it. That's why we're teaching it. That's why we're sharing this message.
Yep.
We're helping you to understand it, because it's a mechanical process that happens in us. It's not some mystical, magical, soothsaying, woo-woo thing that's happening. It's simply mechanical. Same as opening my arm up and pulling it back in. It's a muscle that you're functioning in, that you're using, that you're flexing. And so you can flex that muscle in a good way or in a limited way. It's not bad to be driven by sight and all that, but it severely and sorely limits your outcome.
Especially if that's what you're only focused on.
It limits your experience. And so if you just stop and think about this whole perspective, you're not really thinking through that. You don't think you are. You're just mechanically thinking forward. You're thinking forward on your toes. Like, okay, I want to go do that, or I want to go there, or I want this thing, or I want this to happen, or I want to these things to play out like that. So you're constantly processing through in that way, but it's through the imagination, and it's either leaning on your carnal, physical side, your physicality, and that driving your thought process, or it's being driven, as Julie said, by the spirit side, which the scripture or the word of God is what tells you who you actually are. Most of the time, we're just what I call a bare butt naked Christmas tree, just like your typical Christmas tree. And then throughout life, as we grow up, we hang all kinds of ornaments on our lives, from credentials to just different things we've accomplished, different things we've acquired, different things we put on our bodies.
It's really different identities and who we think we are.
Yeah. And so different things that make us feel like we're somebody, which is then becomes our identity. It becomes a composite of our identity. And so we end up, and we get reinforcement on that. We get surety that rewards us, essentially. It doesn't really, but it rewards us for doing all that stuff. We just have a perceived perspective that it's a reward because of how it makes us feel. But it's very temporal. It's very temporal versus eternal. This side is temporal, and the temporal portion is there on purpose so you can integrate and interface with life. You could call it the Matrix, but it's not like the movie. It is a realm that you grow up in. You have the opportunity that you get to be alive in. You get to be here and get to experience pretty much anything and everything you want to experience. But there's only two pathways. And one is carnal-minded, and the other is spirit-minded. And so we're just encouraging you in understanding of it. First, the understanding comes, and then the aliveness comes. The invigoration comes because you begin to see how it all functions. This is kind of...
Yeah, we
just leave it. So you begin to see it, and that puts a spring in your step to recognize, oh, I'm more than just the physical body. I'm the spirit woman or the spirit man. And in the spirit man, I'm perfect. I'm not a perfect person because I'm still growing in wisdom, prudence, and understanding. Julie's still growing in wisdom, prudence, and understanding. And every man, woman, and child is doing the exact same thing and landing at some level. And so if you're getting all your information from here, and you're driven by what you see, then the only thing you have to go by is the ways of the world. The only thing you have to go by is believing by sight, and you won't believe until you see it. I won't believe until I see it, because proof is in the pudding, right? Prove it, and then you see it, and then, okay, oh, yeah, all right, yeah, right, sure. You do all that stuff, right? We all do that. We all spend a lot of time here throughout our lives until we make a shift in our life to begin to recognize that that opportunity that is in addition to this and is exceedingly greater than the limitation of this. This is just the beginning. The chart we were showing you, ad-libbing it with our arms, hopefully you got that. It's just a simple two-dimensional graph and with a trend of what could be, what you could experience from a baby to having a fleeting chance to come out of that safety, security, survival mode nature, which most people as adults don't think they're in it, but most people are in it. They're processing through every aspect of life through that perspective. And it's so unconscious we don't recognize that it's happening. It's a modus operandi. It's a balance and harmonizing of being able to come alive and exist. But we constantly process through those safety, security, survival, territorial, domineering, fight or flight things that kids do. Just as an adult, we round the corners and the edges off of the box, and we call it well-rounded, but really it's still a box. The well-rounded and dynamicness of you is when you can break out, break free from being driven by
your emotions, your thoughts,
by the sensory input that comes in from the physicalness, the physicality of you, that tells you the identity of who you are, and then you attach that to your identity of your thoughts, feelings, emotions of what you think who you are based on this. That is not who you are. That's just the opportunity to be able to be alive and have a fleeting chance to survive long enough so that you have the chance and opportunity to step into spirit-minded, spirit-led, which is life, health, and peace. Now, you might say, I have life, health, and peace. And that's a hard one. That's another conversation because it's a balance and harmonizing it, but it's all the perspective each person comes from. You can have some semblance of life, health, and peace down here. But what you don't have is the metrics to tell you the quantity and the measurements as to how much of that you're experiencing. This is 1% of what you could experience. That's where the other 99% is. So we're just describing for you that it's not a common thing that we think about because we're so used to thinking about A plus B is C, 2 plus 2 is 4, if this, then that. And then we create this whole identity based on things that we've experienced, things that we've gone through, and things that we've learned, and things that we then began to believe based on that. And that becomes our driving force in all of our interactions, our conversations. It drives whether we have workability about us or not. It drives whether doors open for us or not. Again, we just want you to come to the understanding that this is where your greatness is found, right there.
In your spirit, not in the water bottle.
It's your spirit woman or your spirit man that's alive and well. You just can't see, taste, touch, hear, feel, and smell it. You don't know it really exists. You might hope, but it is the greater part of you. And it's what drives everything that's great about you. No bad things come out of your spirit. They come out of you. Most all the bad things that happen in life comes because we're carnally minded at times. And I'm not trying to have, neither one of us are trying to create the negative side of, oh, all these things and we're not good enough. You are good enough because you have everything you need in the Spirit. You are great enough because you're complete in the Spirit. We just take a semaphore in the physicality of who we are. And we limit ourselves, severely and sorely limit ourselves to that. So lean not so strong on what you think you know. I love that scripture. We'll give it to you next time. But enter into rest, his rest. The only place I can go when I rest from the perspective I'm coming from, which is the safety, security, survival mode, that's in all of us, even though you don't think you're functioning in that. When I'm resting from that, the only place I can go is into the spirit man and find aliveness, abundance, and life more abundantly than life itself.
Again, we're going to be wrapping up here on the live stream, but you can join us backstage and get your questions answered at abundantlifenow.com/events. And if you've never accepted Jesus, which is what we talked about here in your spirit, once you accept Jesus, you become a new creature. Your spirit is renewed. And so we'd like to give you that opportunity backstage. If you've never accepted Jesus, please join us at abundantlifenow.com/events. And we will walk you through that simple process to accept Jesus. And even if you've already accepted Jesus and you want to recommit with Jesus and really put your focus back in alignment with the creation that he created you for, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, so that you can actually experience that more abundant life that you desire and you yearn for. So the answer to the question of why most people aren't living the life they desire is because they don't know who they are. They don't know that they have spirit, soul, and body.
Not just body.
Yeah, spirit, soul, and body. So those three parts. So we'd like to answer any questions that you have backstage. We'd be more than happy to do that. Again, abundantlifenow.com/events. And we will be back here live stream next week, 2:30 Central Time at the next Kingdom Truth.
To help you refire and come alive. So much abundance and blessing to you all. We'll see you next time.
God bless.